So I tend to be too literal on the themes of this, and with our theme of guys and weather, I had a good idea, or what I thought was a good idea. And I made the horrible mistake of volunteering at the polls on Tuesday, and quite honestly experienced a level of barbarity that I've never seen at a polling place in this country. And I wish that were a joke, I really do. And I really struggled to come up with something to talk about, because I couldn't get my head right for all week. And I want to make sure I get the quote right here. And I talked to my wife about it, and she said, "Why don't you just talk about all the stupid shit you guys do at the bar?" So here we are. So on Wednesday nights, I play adult softball. I actually am the president of the league. And all of that is probably as sad as you think it sounds. We consider Wednesday night sacred, and we begin in the beginning of April and we play to the end of October, and much fun is had and many bar tabs are built. And we normally get to the bar, depending on what time we start playing, either 9 p.m. or 11 p.m., and the bar closes at 2, and we stay until 2 regardless of what time you arrive. But one time, 2 years ago, we were playing the first week of the season, always a very heavily attended week, and we started playing at 6:30, and it immediately rained. And our guys took the position that we were done. We packed up all our stuff, about 16 men, and we immediately went to the bar that we normally arrive at very late, and we were there at a seat by 7 p.m., knowing full well that we would be there until 2 in the morning. These are our stories. When we as the guys arrive at the bar, I'm the captain of the team. In the beginning of the season, we always have to do a toast to our old friend Juice. His number is on my arm. On this arm, right? He passed away some years ago. He was our friend who gave us the sponsorship. He was, as a typical soft guy, a clinical alcoholic. He coached a good third base. He couldn't hit to save his life. And he was a lot of fun. And so I will share with you, I'm going to take you all behind the curtain as to how guys operate. So we have a drink for Juice. You're going to be doing this a lot here. Enjoy. My other responsibility as captain, that we do not do pitchers, we do shots. So that's 16 shots at a bar, right there off the bat. We then take account of anyone who's had a major life change. In this instance, one of our guys was about to have his second son, which also requires a drink. First one was garbage tequila called Two Finger. We then went to our traditional screwball, which is I hear it, I do. I hear it, screwball. And we had to buy 16 shots for Jimmy and his new child, Jimmy. So now 2 shots in, it's 7:20, and we have another 7 hours in front of us. So then we begin, as the guys start talking, what we call GOAT conversations. Who's the best of all time at something or another? This invariably devolves into a Jordan LeBron debate, Tom Brady or Joe Montana, and then then we get individually personal. Like, who was the fastest guy on the team? Which, in this instance, resulted in a race out in front of a bar by grown men on wet concrete. Which resulted in 2 men immediately falling down, skinning their knees, their arms, and one guy in his face. It is now 7:45. And everyone who failed in the race believes the results were inconclusive, and that it must be done again later in the night, once the ground is dry. We'll circle back to that. Now, we also have to settle every bet that was made between the end of the softball season and the beginning of this one. That includes the NBA Finals that has not been resolved. That includes everything from the NFL playoffs and any other shit that you can imagine 16 guys will bet on. Now, if you're not familiar with guys, again, the theme of the night, guys individually can be intelligent. One of our guys is a doctor in chemistry. We have a number of people with advanced degrees individually, and we have guys who do not, who completed high school, allegedly. And when you get a group of guys together, much like a chain, everyone is only as smart as the weakest link. Everyone comes down to this level. And we had a guy, now closing in on 8 o'clock, who had gotten a new job. He had previously been unemployed. He was able to pick up occasional part-time work. He had bills literally out of his ass. He had a job for less than 2 weeks, and he was explaining to all of us why he was about to buy a boat. To To which I said, you don't even have a goddamn car. Why don't you worry about land transportation first? And one of our other friends came flying over my arm to scream at this man in a public bar, why can't you have one good idea? Why can I never come in this bar and hear Joe say, man, that was a good idea? And then he took that information, that reaction, and he tried to insist to us that a boat was a smart purchase. Even though we had no slip, or no trailer, or no car, or no fucking home. Mercifully, he has not yet bought a boat, though. I'm sure it's around that time. Okay? This proceeds for a little bit. We order food. We're at a bar, so it's either tacos, burgers, or chicken tenders, because you may have noticed that the bar menu and the children's menu are the exact same menu. This is perfect for guys. We love this. And the first group of guys who smoke have gone outside for a cigarette. Those who stay inside with vapes, and this is something as a guy I do not understand. Men share vapes with other men. They pass them around. They brag about how one was bubblegum flavored. And I'm like, this is, look, I'm really glad that standards have changed over time. Standards have matured over time. But this is where I'm going to have to be a caveman and be like, men don't do this. This is not acceptable conduct. And the vapes have lights, like a light bright from when I was a kid. And I just don't understand how any of this is an acceptable addiction. I don't know, get some coke, man. Be a man. At around this time, the plus ones, the wives and girlfriends who have been in trivia, roll in. And between our team and some other friends there, now these people, you're closing in on about 30 people packed into a bar. And again, we're still settling tabs from the off season. One guy lost every single bet on the NFL playoffs, which is a statistically impossible task. And so he owed 2 rounds, the first of which, if you all round it's your choice, he bought Jägermeister, a drink for 16-year-olds whose older sibling wants to punish them. Warm. Yeah, that's right. And he had to pay for 30 of them. That resulted in, well, we'll get there. Then he had to also settle a second one with Patron. So now we're about 5 shots in. It's approximately 9 o'clock. We still have 5 hours to go. And then we get to the single guys. Every collection of guys has guys who are single. It is my understanding, I've very fortunately been in the same relationships since 1999. Evidently it's really hard to meet people these days, so I hear. And they are on apps. This particular guy is on a thing called Hinge. And he met a woman who immediately in their conversation began by saying that she has great tits, but that they're not together. To which we all went, what? And it turned out that the great tit is a bird. It's a bird. And that this woman shares custody of the birds, which are outdoor ones, with her ex. To which all of us said, yeah, I'm out on this. Completely, I go around, but I can't even believe you're with a bird person, period, and more or less when somebody shares a bird. Until one of our great friends, a gentleman named Larry, he's been in this room before, somebody said, how does the handoff work? Is it like divorced kids at McDonald's on a Friday? They just stare at the birds? And this devolved into a 45-minute conversation/argument about what would be the proper way to swap the birds. And then also a complete sidetrack about how if it were a parrot or a falcon, we would all be back in, because maybe she's a pirate or a falconer. And another guy, every word of my story is true. Another guy finding out that in Virginia you can legally own an osprey as a pet. If you don't know what an osprey is, it's a giant seabird. He did not ask any questions after this, our friend. He did not ask how the bird exchange is handled. He did not ask for any follow-up questions, whereas I still have follow-up questions to this moment, as we all do. But we're going to circle back to that. Then we reach penalties, which is something we do in adult softball. On our team, if you strike out or you get into double play, you go around. And one of our guys had hit into a double play in the first inning before the rain started. And he objected to this penalty because he is fast and the man in front of him is slow. And he did not believe that he owed a round because the other guy was slow. He felt he should pay. And the powers that be ruled against him in his decision. So he decided, as a penalty, that everyone's shot would be rail gin. which was consumed and several hours later led to a fight outside of the bar with another person on bird related. It's now 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, the second round of food is ordered. Additional tacos, additional chicken tenders, Cajun fries. Just one good decision after another being made. And people are getting louder, so on and so forth. At 11 o'clock, one of our guys comes back and he said, I got an answer on the bird thing. And what he had done was he had the first name of the woman, so he created a fake profile, it's a second Facebook account. He then went onto every bird group in the area, joined them, and posted a question simply saying that he and his spouse were breaking up. They both loved the bird. Has anyone had any experience with this? And lo and behold, we found the great tits lady. And it turns out that what they have to do every week is capture these things as they're outside and bring them to the other person's house, which also has an ample yard, because again, they're very territorial outside birds. And that's, I mean, who gives a shit, right? But what made it was the instantaneous detective work that had to go into, like, we as a collection of guys need an answer to this question. At midnight, we actually touch on maturity for a moment. I'm sure all of you know people whose relationships have ended. And myself and my other friend Luke are the two old guys in this group. We are affectionately referred to as the big brother and the uncle who has just had it with your shit. And we have to lecture these guys every week about, like, that's not the way to end a relationship. And what we occasionally find is growth. We had an amazing moment where one of our guys, who by any definition would be considered a degenerate, actually told another guy who was going through a divorce, he goes, therapy was the best decision I ever made, and I wish I had made it 2 years earlier than I did. And I get along with my wife better, or my ex-wife better, and my children so much better, and you really should try this. I know it's hard to anybody to think they need help, but you really should. And it was touching. And like, wow, maybe as guys they're going to become men. But they decided that advice required a round of Patron. No line. Just a suck down tequila shot after midnight. And then we come to 1 a.m. Keep in mind, everyone has to work at some time between 5 and 6. And one of the guys just is in a challenge at home. He just doesn't like a home there. And he starts buying rounds for people, even though we try to pay. And then the bar turns the lights on us. And fortunately, around the corner from the bar is a sushi place. It's opening later. So we go down there. And if any of you are older or maybe have reflux and you have ever choked down 3 spicy tuna rolls at 1:30 in the morning, I can tell you that it's not going to be a fun Thursday. From personal experience. But the guys have somehow, this collection of miscreants, has somehow raised my expectation of guys over time. Because they do support each other. And they make horrific mistake after horrific mistake. And the tab, I can tell you myself, I paid over $300 at a dive bar for opening night. I really don't want to be a captain of the team anymore. We are affectionately known as the Chuck Norris fan club. That is our team. That started because we find the jokes funny. Chuck Norris cut a knife with hot butter. Chuck Norris once peed in the gas tank and then became Optimus Prime. We used to have all those things on our shirts. And we really avoid rainouts because we should never no one should be at a bar for 7 hours anymore, and especially not us. But the boys are getting smarter. Just a hair. And that does give me some faith that maybe in this unbelievable time with people with barbaric poles, that maybe we do have just a little bit of hope out there if we just look at the bottom of the shot glass floor. Thank you very much.